At my wife's family BBQ, my sister-in-law joked, "If you disappeared, no one would notice." I smiled and said, "Challenge accepted." I left that night and never looked back. That joke landed while I was standing at the grill, spatula in hand, doing what I always did at family events. The work nobody asked for but everyone expected. My sister-in-law said it loud enough for the whole yard to hear. She was 3 drinks in, laughing at her own punchline before she even finished it. My wife laughed so hard, she spilled her drink. Her parents smiled, that comfortable smile people smile when something confirms what they already think. Her brother shook his head like it was the funniest thing all summer. The whole yard kind of agreed. I smiled, said challenge accepted, flipped the next burger. The conversation moved on, but something inside me didn't. Here's what nobody at that BBQ knew. I'd been quietly holding that family together for 6 years. When my mother-in-law had her stroke, I was the one who built the medication schedule and learned enough about her prescriptions to know when her dosage was off. When her brother needed to move 4 times in 3 years, I rented the truck, bought the pizza, showed up every time. When her parents' water heater burst on Christmas Eve, I was under the house in the cold for 2 hours. I filed the taxes, remembered every birthday, fixed the Wi-Fi, patched the roof, mediated the arguments, planned the holiday dinners, sent the sympathy cards. My wife called it being a team player. Her family called it being handy. I called it love for a long time. That night, while she slept, I sat at the kitchen table and opened a notebook, drew a line down the middle, left column. Everything I had done for her family since we got married. Took 40 minutes to write, 3 pages, single-spaced, and I stopped before I finished because my hand cramped up. Right column, everything they had ever done for me. I stared at that blank space for a long time. Finally wrote one thing. They invited me to the BBQ. I packed a single bag, 1 week of clothes, my laptop, my passport, and the savings account she didn't know about. Not hidden, just never merged. $14,000. Enough to start. Left my ring on the counter with a note. 2 words. Challenge accepted. Walked out at 6 a.m. while she was still asleep. Got on a bus to Denver because I'd never been there and didn't know a single person in the state. That felt exactly right. The first week was disorienting in the best possible way. Nobody needed anything from me. Nobody texted asking me to look at something, help with something, just swing by real quick. My phone was quiet, and for the first 3 days it felt like a malfunction. Then it started feeling like oxygen. I found a job by day 5. Small construction firm, nothing glamorous, but the work was honest and my boss was direct. At the end of every task, there was a clear outcome. Done or not done. Nobody moved the goalposts. Nobody acted like my effort was just the baseline with no acknowledgement attached. I started therapy in week 3. My therapist had a name for what I'd been doing. Compulsive caretaking. You don't just help people, she told me. You anticipate need before it's expressed. You absorb discomfort so others don't feel it. You measure your worth entirely by how useful you are. That's not love. That's a wound wearing love's clothes. I thought about that for weeks. I hadn't been a husband. I'd been auditioning constantly, quietly, exhaustingly, for a family that had already decided I was background noise. Month 3, my sister-in-law found me. Showed up in my office parking lot on a Thursday evening, looking like she hadn't slept in a month. The sharpness she weaponized at every family gathering, gone. She looked like someone trying to hold something together that was never meant to be held by one person. Everything's falling apart, she said. Mom was in the ER twice because nobody knew her medication schedule. My marriage ended. My brother is drowning in debt. Family dinners stopped because nobody coordinates them anymore. I wasn't angry. I'd expected anger, but standing there I just felt a calm, clean distance, like looking at a photograph of somewhere you used to live. You said no one would notice, I told her. Looks like you were wrong. She cried, real tears, said the joke was cruel, said she didn't understand what I meant to the family until I wasn't there anymore. I told her I appreciated that. I told her therapy had a good track record for people willing to do the work. Then I got in my car and drove home. My apartment, quiet, uncrowded. Nobody needs anything apartment with a view of the mountains. The divorce was final a few months later. She signed everything without a fight. Some people spend their whole lives being useful and never once feel seen. I was one of them, right up until someone handed me an exit ramp disguised as a joke. Challenge accepted was the truest thing I ever said.